Welcome to Sense of Style. I'm Stuart, and I just love it when major celebrities are doing meet and greets with the general public, people like Brad Pitt or Taylor Swift, when they walk up to people and go, "Hi, I'm Brad," or "Hi, I'm Taylor." It's like, you do not need to introduce yourself. You are an icon. Everybody knows who you are. That's what I have today. I've got 8 fragrances that do not require an introduction. If you are at all familiar with men's fragrances, you will know every single one. Fragrance number 1 is Armani Acqua di Gio Profumo. And this is the very first Acqua di Gio fragrance that the niche crowd, that the hardcore fragrance enthusiasts took seriously, because the original Acqua di Gio, it's pleasant, it's mass appealing, but it lasts between 3 and 4 hours on my skin. This is darker, more mature, more interesting, and has double the performance, and so this made the original Acqua di Gio completely irrelevant. In 2023, this fragrance got its comeuppance. It was discontinued, and it was replaced with the Parfum version. And the biggest change between the two was the removal of the incense note. That happened for a couple of reasons. Number 1, IFRA put a few more restrictions on the use of incense, but number 2 is the main reason. Incense was a masculine note, and along with leather, that were very popular in the 2010s. Once the 2020s started, the younger men started to rise. They wanted smoother, easy-wearing fragrances, less masculinity was involved. And so, yeah, the incense note was gone, which is a shame in a lot of ways, because this is a little bit more masculine. And number 2, the backstory of this fragrance, like, it was heavily influenced by Giorgio Armani himself, who passed away this year. He designed the bottle, and he also insisted on the use of the incense note, because he lives on an island in the Mediterranean called Pantelleria. It's a volcanic island, and he liked the interplay between the smoke of the volcano and the aquatic. And so Acqua di Gio is an aquatic. He wanted to add the smoke of the incense note, and now that's all gone, unfortunately. So this opens with C notes and bergamot. It's got rosemary, sage, and geranium in the mid. It's got patchouli and incense in the base. And I mean, I don't know. There's something nostalgic that I really like about this, and other people that have bottles of Profumo. Like, for practical reasons, you can wear the Parfum. It's very similar, but yeah, I just like having this. Fragrance number 2 is Tom Ford's Noir Extreme, and this came out in 2015. And this is a perfect example of how times have changed, because the 2 main notes here are kulfi. It's pistachio ice cream from India and vanilla. So 2 notes that are perfect for a gourmand, and yet this isn't a gourmand. Tom Ford, who was the creative director, told his perfumer Sonia Constant that he wanted a warm breath fragrance. He wanted a fragrance that smelled like you were whispering something forbidden to somebody. So tone down the heavy sweetness and make it a breathy, airy sweetness. You wouldn't be doing that today. Today, this would be a full-on gourmand. So Constant toned this down with 4 floral notes, including powdery rose and jasmine. And then she also added a dry sandalwood note and an amber note to give it more of a resinous sweetness more than a heavy vanilla. So it's still really sweet. But if you're talking about warm breath, you're talking about pretty close to you. So not a huge amount of projection, but it's very sweet. It lasts a really long time. And honestly, this is one of my favorite fragrances that I've tried and don't have a full bottle for. Top 5 for sure. I love this scent, and I hope to get a bottle one day. Fragrance number 3 is Armani Code Parfum, and this came out in 2022 as a reimagining of the entire Armani Code line. And if you wanted to know what Armani was going to do with their fragrances going forward, the tagline for this fragrance says it all. The future of modern masculinity, it was going to be expressive, confident, and gentle. And that's the direction that they took. It was meant to appeal to the younger generation of men who see middle-aged men more as like toxic masculinity or hyper masculinity. They have a much more gentle approach to being masculine. And so Armani, and also YSL, I'll get to that in a second, did the same thing. So it's not always just about like heavy sweetness, because there is some sweetness here. There's a nice tonka note, but it's a much softer tonka note than what you got with the original Code line. That was a lot of leather and a very dense, rich tonka note. This one, it's a lighter tonka, and it's surrounded by florals. In this case, a lot of iris. It's got an iris note and an orris note. And so it's more powdery. It's not as heavily sweet as the original line, but it's definitely lighter and more gentle. Armani is not the only house that's taken this approach. YSL, with the release of Myself, has a similar level of sweetness to this. Maybe this is a little bit sweeter, but it also has floral notes that give it a softer feel. What I like about this, though, that I think it's an interesting one here because it kind of bridges the gap between men that are 25 and under and men that are 45 and over, because it's got a softer feel, which I think younger men perceive as gentler, whereas men my generation tend to see it as more sophisticated. And especially with the powderiness of the iris, this is quite a sophisticated scent. And both this and Myself have done very well. I'm much more in this camp, quite frankly, because I think it is more sophisticated. You get a more powdery element with iris than you do with orange blossom. Fragrance number 4 is Terre Eau Givree. This came out in 2022. And Hermès wanted a fragrance that was something along the same lines as Terre but they wanted it to be fresher and for warm weather. They had a fragrance like that called Eau Fraîche that came out in 2014 that had a orangey feel, but it was more watery. And that got discontinued, mainly because the main aroma chemical that created that watery orange feel, it was called dihydromercenol. That was banned by IFRA. And so Eau Fraîche discontinued. Now you've got a new perfumer. Christine Nagel is in, Jean-Claude Elena is out, and she has got her work cut out for her because aroma chemicals are somewhat limited. And what she ended up doing was completely inverting Terre d'Hermès. And Terre d'Hermès is kind of a warm but earthy fragrance, and this is airy and icy. So she turned it on its head. So when I say warmth, I'm talking about the orange note in Terre d'Hermès, because in terms of citrus notes, it's a little bit sweeter and warmer. And then you're going to get the earthiness of like a lot of vetiver. So definitely warm and earthy. She used for this, instead of orange, flipped it, and now she's using citron. It's a sharper, greener, fresher citrus note that gives it a little bit of a cooler feel. Then she added juniper. That is the main ingredient in gin. Gin's a very popular summer drink, gin and tonic on ice. That's a summer drink. It's got an icy feel to it. Then she threw in a lot of mineral notes. And the weird thing is, like, Terre d'Hermès, yeah, it's earthy, but it's also a transparent fragrance. Jean-Claude Elena was known for transparency. She made a fragrance that was even more transparent to give it that airy feel. This is sold better than Eau Fraîche, so it's been a big success. Fragrance number 5 is By the Fireplace by Maison Margiela. This is part of the Replica line of fragrances, and they replicate everyday scents. In this case, 1971 Chamonix. Chamonix is a city in France at the foot of the French Alps. So the imagery here is you've gone skiing and you're sitting by the fireplace at the end of the day in a chalet with a nice sweet drink. And I think that's kind of cool. And I mean, the great thing about it is it's a very sweet fragrance that a lot of people might, assume is feminine, but it really does have a fireplace feel. You're getting the gaiac wood, that burning, smoking gaiac wood. You're getting the pungency of the cloves. And you're not just getting like a lot of vanilla and chestnut. And so the imagery works, and it makes it less about gender and more about imagery, because guys sit by the fireplace too. And I think for that reason, this is appealed to a lot of men. I think if it was left alone, if you just released it as unisex, it would probably be more for women. And actually, that reminds me, a couple days ago, I was leaving the gym, and this woman walked by. Oh my God. The scent cloud that followed her was unbelievable. I knew that I knew the scent, but I didn't know exactly what it was till I got home. I realized it was this By the Fireplace. This is a very strong fragrance. I think it'd be great on a date. I think it's really good in cool weather like right now. And I think the cooler, the better. So yeah, I think more men should wear this. Fragrance number 6 is Rochas Mustache. And it's kind of weird to have a fragrance that's like $40, $50 fragrance that a lot of people consider to be a clone on a list like this. But I cannot believe, I watch a lot of fragrance YouTube, I cannot believe how many times I will see this in thumbnails of YouTubers. It came out in 2018, but it's still really popular because it's good. It's good for the money. Now, it's supposed to be a clone of Tuxedo. It's a little bit sweeter. It's got pink pepper, a lot of pink pepper, and then it's got vanilla and benzoin. It's got a little hint of rose, It's just a really pleasant fragrance. It lasts very well on my skin. I get about 6 hours, sometimes a little bit more. It projects a lot. The price is reasonable. The performance is reasonable. I mean, I think this fragrance really has earned a spot on this list. If you're into fragrances in any way, I'm pretty certain you will know this. It is one of those fragrances, though, where if you're a niche guy and you don't have it yet because you think, oh, I'm too good for it, that could be a mistake. Fragrance number 7 is Salvatore Ferragamo's Uomo. This came out in 2016 and actually is a gourmand, and it's not one of the fragrances that people backed away from because this is an Italian house, and they wanted it to smell like tiramisu, a famous Italian dessert. And so it's weird, though. They come about getting it in a weird way because tiramisu has got coffee in it. It's got a little bit of chocolate. It's kind of custardy. They use sweet notes, ambroxan and tonka, and cardamom and black pepper to get that feel. I don't know how they do it, but they do. It smells, I don't know if it smells exactly like tiramisu, but it sure smells like dessert. And they, because it was meant to smell like something Italian, they did not back away from it. It's got really good performance as well. Similar to Rochas Mustache. I think it's a little bit more expensive than Mustache, but yeah, this is another one. As I said, I see this a lot on YouTube videos still. Fragrance number 8 is one that I love to talk about and I really like, but I know my audience can't stand it. This is Black Orchid by Tom Ford. And the reason I know this is because whenever I put this early in a video, I can see the video drop off as soon as I start talking about it. I think that's a mistake. Yes, it is kind of a feminine fragrance. That orchid note really is quite feminine, but it has a lot of masculine notes that I think temper it somewhat. And I also like that interesting interplay of wearing this maybe with a leather jacket, dressed up to go out there, looking masculine. I like that interesting contrast. It's a really pleasant fragrance, really good performance as well. You're going to get orchid, you're going to get truffles and patchouli, so there's an earthy quality. There's a lot of vanilla and chocolate as well. It is quite sweet. It's not overbearingly sweet, but I like it. But yeah, it's number 8 because I know that if I put it any earlier, people would stop watching. But this is another one I want to get a bottle of. Anyway, yeah, hopefully these are all fragrances you already heard of. Otherwise, the opening doesn't make too much sense. But yeah, I mean, there's some real classics on here for sure. Anyway, thanks for watching.